Hello, welcome. This is Dr. Rochin, and I'm going to be just giving you a little bit of information about my presentation. My presentation is on technology in the classroom. I'm Dr. Richard Rochin, an Alliant International University Master's in Education student. So let's get into our project. So the abstract for my paper, my investigation, is the topic of this investigation is the use of technology in the classroom. Secondly, the availability of resources to the students and to the teachers and their awareness to these resources. And thirdly, how and why the digital generation teachers use technology in their classroom. So a little bit about this is that we're looking into how the technology is going to be used and why is it important and how effective is it happening in the classrooms. So the introduction. There's been a lot of research in technology in the classroom done. When you investigate it, you can see hundreds of articles. With the digital projectors, they can be used to project onto a screen or to a smart screen, which makes the classroom is much more interactive by allowing changes to be made in real time on the smart screens, which allows the students to see more complicated and interactive processes. Now with this, we are referring to the old school days of having to write everything on a chalkboard or having to use an overhead with clear transparencies. Nowadays, that has gone with the Elmo projector, and with the Elmo being connected to the projector now, and having the digital projector being able to project it onto a screen or project it onto a smart classroom, depending on a smart board, depending on the availability of the resources. The smart board is interactive, and you can open up calculator functions or different kinds of functions, and you can make the lesson a lot more interactive, and you can involve the students with things like Pear Deck or different kinds of software, which allows the students to be able to click in the PowerPoint presentation and answer things. And this allows you to use iClickers, which is the systemic way of interactions between the classrooms and students, and this allows us to have a much more understanding of whether or not the students are actually grasping in the concept, and allows us to work as we go and see what we need to do and make adaptations on the fly with the presentations, and to be able to get the students involved, because when you get the students involved, it is a much more in-depth learning because it's more fun for them, and it goes from being passive to active type of learning. These technologies make a classroom of today much more interactive and engaging in the classroom than the past, as previously mentioned. So as the students are preparing for the future, which involves a greater use of technology in everyday life and in their workforce, it is important for them to learn how to use the different forms of technology that is available for them. Nowadays, the students, Google has become very important through students, and because of the platforms that they have, students are no longer per se using Word and Office and Excel like they used to. They're now using Google Slides, and they're using Google Docs and a lot of that stuff, but still it's important for them to learn how to use both resources, because in the world of today, your bosses and your companies, your corporations will expect you to know how to be able to use Excel spreadsheets and to make presentations that you'll have to give to your boss and to other students for what's going on and the implementation of the different types of processes. The technology is very important because today's workplace will be required to know how to do investigations and to be able to keep track of everything that's going on, because of the fact that we have corporations that are international. We do a lot of international conferences also, and a lot of work has to be shown and translated on the fly in different types of processes. So the 4 essential attributes to the middle school grades must be addressed for today's age, which are the development of resources, so developmentally responsive, challenging, empowering, and advocating for equality, as DeCicco said in his article from 2016. So the developmentally responsive basically means that you're getting the student to become much more organized, and you're developing their mindset on the technology of the future, and you're getting them to start to mature and to become independent and interactive and learn how to use the resources on their own. That's why with today's classroom, a lot of times you'll do interactive classroom. You'll do a flipped classroom where the students will do the investigation, and they will create a PowerPoint presentation and teach it with the guidance of the student, with the teacher, of course, and they'll be shown how to do these types of things in the classroom. Now, the challenging aspects of it with today's new standards that are going out there, a lot of the times you don't directly influence and teach the student right away. You let them see the phenomenons that are going on and try to have the students, you're trying to get them to think outside the box and not limit their understanding. So you're letting them see the concept of it, try to come up with a grasp of it on their own, and then you start to show them the resources and show them how they're doing it. So it is much more interactive and much more learning and oriented and trial and error based, which causes the students to think more according to Bloom's scale of knowledge, and it really helps them out. So empowering the students, you're empowering them to think, you're empowering them to become independent, you're empowering them to become learners by having them work on the presentations. They work in groups, they manage the presentations, they work together, and they're responsible for keeping each other in line because they're responsible for keeping each other to get the amount of work done, because it all depends on their grade and how they're teaching other students, and they want to make sure that they're doing the best with the help of the teacher, of course, to make sure that they're grasping the concept and not learning the information wrong. Now, the advocating for equality, this a lot of times happens too with the classrooms that have different availability of resources or different fundings. Some students have been able to have private tutoring or different fundings on their own, or be able to go out to places and field trips on their own with the school, and others are not. So this really helps with the technology of out there, because Google has a cardboard that you can have a cardboard set for in the school. And you can do, even if your classrooms don't have phones or iPads that you can do it with, as long as there's the main one that the teacher can use, they can do the interactive 3D digital field trips and be involved with the students and keep them and get to see what's going on. You could also do digital laboratories and digital investigations and interactive type of processes, these digital labs that the students get to see that they would not normally be able to see the type of reactions because of cost and funding, which is a lot more interesting for the students. And this really helps bring the equality of the students, because as long as the teacher has the resources to be able to show the students, then everybody gets to see the same amount of information. And the computers are very important, especially because of the technology used, and the students need to see this several times, because they will have their tests done through the computer and interactive software now also. So the purpose, the question proposed for this investigation is if technology in the classroom is beneficial to the classroom, and do students really learn deeper using the new technologies than students of a traditional type of classroom setting using books and paper and pencils. When doing the type of investigation, I did see that the school districts and a lot of people are having a very high concept of the learning and technology, and they're really expecting that the students will be doing a lot greater. But at the time, the results are not showing that they're doing as high as they were expected or hoped to be doing, because of the fact that the resources and technology is barely starting to roll out into the classrooms. And sometimes they're there, but the faculty hasn't been trained 100% yet on how to do it, and they're still a little bit unsure on the resources or how to run a technologically advanced classroom. They're still not sure how to show the students how to be doing these presentations and these type of softwares. So as the time is going, it's showing that greater professional development days, PD days, are required for the faculties to be able to help out the students and to be able to show them, because the faculty that knows how to use the technology is rolling it out better, and they're starting to see that the results are a little bit better because the students are learning and they're getting their hands on to this type of technology and these resources, which will be seen on their state tests in the future. And as long as they get this done, then it will show that in the future it is helpful. But at the moment, it shows that they are not 100% helpful yet, because of the fact that it's not being implemented to the best of the ability. Plus, they're slowly getting the processes out, and the school districts are a little bit slow on that. They're having limitations on funding, limitations on resources, because little by little they're getting out there. Not every single classroom has their own 1-to-1 computer ratio. Some classrooms have to share. Sometimes it's a 2-to-1. Sometimes the teachers have to share the resources. So little by little the resources are becoming available, and as they become available, then some resources become outdated, and you have to continually do an update and modernize on the resources. So having these three things are very important for our separate but united under great classroom learning experiences and creating an environmental suitable for classroom learning. You have to have classroom management, communication, and behavioral management. So with the classroom management, what you're going to end up having to do is that this really helps the teacher to become a lot more organized, because of the fact that through Google Classroom and through Schoology and several different types of websites that are out there available for the students and for the faculty to use, students and the teachers have platforms that they can really communicate with the students easily. Even if the teacher's out one day, they can still communicate with the faculty, with the other students, and let them know when things are due, how they're able to create assignments and to have them set on these different platforms, to have the assignments set when they become open, when they close. When the grading, the student's able to see the grades instantly after a test and different aspects of that. For the communication, let's say that the student is unaware of something, but they were too shy to ask inside of a classroom setting. All of these platforms also have communication and platforms for the students to be able to talk with each other through community settings and ask a question. And they are also able to talk to the teacher, and the teacher can respond back to themselves privately or to the entire classroom as a setting. And this really helps, because if the teacher responds to a question, maybe there's another student that had the same question but they were a little bit shy to ask, then everybody gets their question answered, and the process gets to be advanced all along that way. And this also helps with behavioral management, because a lot of the times the behavioral problems with some of the students are that they get bored in the classroom, or that the setting is a little slow paced for them, or they're having a little bit of difficulty with it because they don't like to learn the traditional way. They're having difficulty with it, they don't remember. But when you have the digital aspect of it, the technology in the classrooms, the student becomes a lot more involved, and because it's an integrative learning. They're no longer doing passive learning, which is just sit there listening and reading. They're doing active listening. They're actively taking notes. They're actively being involved in the software, paying attention, being asked to participate. Their responses are being recorded, and they're actually learning. When they have a question on a certain word, they could click on it and it'll bring up another software. So type of interactive books have become a lot more involved with students, and it's showing that they get a deeper sense of knowledge and learning because they're becoming more involved and enjoying it a lot better. And this clears up a lot of the behavioral problems because of the fact that the students are not as bored as they were in the traditional classroom settings. The different school districts are investing money in programs and technologies, but are having difficulty implementing them and the usage of the programs and technology, and are doing so at a different pace, depending on how much funding the different schools get because of how large or small they are the different types of software and platforms which are available to them, which is why Google is a very great resource for the students, because a lot of the programs are free. They're there to help out the students, and they're being involved. And a lot of the books that the school districts are adopting for the next round of education, which is happening right now, comes with a digital platform for the students also to be able to use it not only on the computer but on their phones, or at home or in the school setting, along with the books that they have in the classroom that they can use. So they have the hardcover book, which is normally consumable, or they have the digital copy, which they can use and it's tied to them and it doesn't disappear, and they get to keep that with them for their records. So this is really becoming very helpful. But the school districts are becoming a little bit slow with the passing out of the information, because there are only limited resources, and they have to do staff development training, and they have to roll it out little by little, because they're not going to pass out the resources until the faculty is properly trained onto the resources. So the level of technology used varies greatly depending from school district to school district, because of the available resources that are available to them, and having the faculty that is willing to learn it. And a lot of the times the faculty is willing to learn it, but the fact that with the pacing and the management problems that are still being worked out in the school districts, they are only offering staff development to the beginning of the year or at different times of the year, and the schools are getting grants, but they need so many teachers to be able to sign up to be able to get the grant, otherwise the program doesn't roll out. And I find that if the school districts I have done through the research, and shows that a lot of the faculty are saying the same thing, that they're not aware 100% of the different resources or things that are available to them. So what they need to do is have better communication with each other and have a good set of personal development days, where I know it's tough for the students because the teacher's out of the classroom, but maybe they can do it on different times, or online seminars, or different things, or different rollout programs too, because a lot of the times they're training it one year and not the next year. And if you have a new faculty member, then they miss that training, then it becomes difficult. They also have to have a lot of brush-up courses, because it's a lot to learn in a one setting. So if you can do a lot of type of review courses, or even give an option of on a holiday when the students don't go, but the faculty goes, or a Saturday, additional pay for the faculty if they're willing to go and learn on that day, their personal time, that will help them so that they're not missing so many classrooms, but still advancing on the technology, which is where they need to be in the future. Technology is very valuable in the schools and in learning in the schools. However, there's still several kinks that have to be worked out through the professional development days. So the methods done through this investigation. This investigation was done through literary review of resources and articles that have already been performed. Most of the articles have been performed through surveys and collection of data, which has been seen, and it can be seen through the citations when you go onto the links. The information was compiled and analyzed to see the results for the different types of articles, that we get a better understanding of all the research currently available through technology. We used ERIC through a system program called ERIC through Alliant International University, which brought up all the most current articles and investigations through there. So this investigation reviewed several articles based on the main ideas of the investigation that show how technology is being used in the classroom and how it can help students to be more prepared for their future. So literary review. When researching the different articles that were available for technology in the classroom or related words to the research, it became obvious that the school districts have invested a large amount of money into their students and technology that is available, but that they have not fully been trained in the resources yet, and a lot of times they have certain people that are going to be trained, and those trainers have to go to the school and then train the rest of the faculty, and sometimes those trainers didn't get a good grasp of it. So I find that if you have multiple trainers per school and not just the one, then it's a better grasp of the concepts that are required, because a lot of times when you have just one trainer, and if that trainer lost his focus for a little while, then that school is not going to really understand what's going on. So you have to have multiple days of training with multiple faculty members so that we can make sure that every single faculty and every single school district can learn the information properly. So the results, so after reviewing the article and finding the investigations, investigating the consensus of the articles is that technology is a vital key component in learning in the modern classroom. Is it required for the students? It is not required for the students, but it shows that it helps them in the future. It helps them to become a more ready student for the modern technology that we are in, because students are going to be required to know basic coding and how to use these programs. So really, they will be behind once they graduate if they're not already involved with these technological settings inside of the classroom already, because they're going to be required to use it in the workforce in the future. Technology is a great tool for the students and teachers to improve the classroom learning experience. Technology will not substitute books or will not substitute the teachers, but it is a large tool for the teachers to use in the future, because this will really help innovate the students and to help open and broaden their spectrums of the minds. And it really helps to integrate all the different levels of the classroom and the different subjects together, because when learning this, they have to integrate within one another. They have to use English and math and science all together. You know, we have the STEAM program, which helps all the different things, and it brings art and it brings everything together and shows how it's all integrated and communicates nicely through technology. Teachers can use the technology to help students learn and to bring the level of learning and resources up to the university level. Like we mentioned earlier, when the students, let's say that the school does not have a very large library or the ability to subscribe to a lot of subscriptions, this can be done through Google, and it can be done through different programs that students have the ability to do research. I find that when the teacher also does a lot of web webinars, and not webinars per se, but web quests, and you have links pre-set up and pre-assigned. There's a lot of free links out there that you can help, and you can guide the students to go to those. That it's a lot better than just having the students do a blind search on it, because then you already have the predetermined websites and you know what knowledge they're going to be looking up, and this is really the best way to guide the students into it. And this really brings the level of the resources up to a higher level, and expectation of the students to be up on a higher level where they're expected to be when they move on to the universities. The research shows that the technology is a great tool for the modern classroom, but that the technology is not only as useful as well as the teacher can use it and implement the technology in the classroom. So we really do need to have a good large push for the students to learn it, but also for the faculty to be able to have these professional development days to be able to learn it, because when the faculty becomes very engaged in it, they give the engagement to the students, and the students learn it and they have a better time with it. So in conclusion, the technology in the classroom is an important tool for the classroom to get the students to become motivated and interested in building a stronger connection that will lead to more in-depth learning. In helping the teachers learn the technology, it helps the teachers to implement the strategies and knowledge that of the new technologies of the learning in the classroom, and integrating the classroom with technology and the other subjects is a way to make the students become more interested in learning, and helps to put learning in their hands, and will create a more an in-depth learning environment for the students' implemented activity learning through technology, through the following source. So when you look at this also, what is this saying? That technology is very important, and as we mentioned, that when you do web quests and you have this pre-investigated, when the student feels like they have a little bit of control in their hands and they get to investigate, let's say you have, there's like 15 website resources on there, and you say you have to pick 5 of them and bring them in. Now the student might not like it, say, go to this video and watch this video and do a summary on it, but they might like when you get to say, choose one of the 15 videos and write a resource on it, because that really makes them feel like they're having a say in their learning. And all of the different resources, really, you've already looked at them and they guide you, and they're already preset to help you get into this learning of the future activities that we're doing. So really, the faculty has to become very organized and prepared and very comfortable using these resources to be able to help out for the student to have a good grasp of the learning, and it really becomes a much more interactive learning, and it becomes more unique to every single student, which really brings a more in-depth type of knowledge for them. And using the new and interactive pedagogies of technology, students that have been traditionally bored and have behavioral problems will be more involved in the classroom settings, and will have a greater participation, because they are no longer passively learning, but they become actively learning with having the technology and the resources at their hands. So after all the literature reviews and findings of the articles, and the technology is vital in the classroom, it is a key tool for the student, for the faculty, and for the students to use. But there is still no greater need. There is still a large need for the training and personal development of the faculty, so they can properly investigate and use the technologies in the classroom, and they can properly teach students how to use it. So appreciation. So thank you very much for listening and for your time. Thank you for dealing with my couple of stumbles that I had through the presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I had a couple of errors, I know, but thank you for bearing with me, and have a great day.